New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Patricia Crane. I'm the host for this episode, and I want to welcome you and tell you that you are watching What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network. And today I am absolutely delighted to introduce you to Tricia Sharkey. She is the authorized teacher trainer for not only Australia, but also New Zealand. And I'm going to read you her bio so I don't miss anything about this wonderful woman. Hi, Tricia.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you? It's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here.
So I'm going to put on my lovely little glasses. You know, we used to call these big eyes when I was in school a long time. Now they're all in fashion. Okay, so for Tricia, like many, she discovered Louise's book, You Can Heal Your Life, at just the right time. She was then led to take the Heal Your Life Workshop Leader Training in 2010 with Susie Mulholland, who was actually the trainer at that time, and completed the coach training in 2011 with myself and husband Rick Nichols, and we were delighted to meet you at that training. Tricia has been an inspiration for others, leading many workshops, coaching many clients, and assisting other trainers. And her commitment to this work really made her the clear choice when the previous trainer retired to have her become the teacher trainer for Australia and New Zealand. And I'm all, there we go, that's better. Tricia knows the philosophy of Louise Hay has stood the test of time and is at the forefront even now of modern modalities for change. And we certainly need that work now, don't we?
Absolutely.
Tricia believes that this work is needed more than ever, and I certainly agree. She is a very intuitive teacher who walks the talk and lives the Heal Your Life philosophy consciously. Tricia offers a safe and nurturing environment with love, integrity, and compassion, whether she's working one-on-one or in groups or in a training. She has also traveled extensively through Australia, Europe, and Asia, and meeting people from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and religions. And what she's noticed is that all have a common thread. Everyone wants to be loved and accepted for who they are. Tricia is a lifelong learner and has become proficient in other modalities as well. We'll be talking about a couple of those later in the program. She has authored a book called The Kaleidoscope of Life, and it's Understanding Your Life with Color. And there it is. It's a beautiful book, and that's a beautiful picture of her on the cover. It's filled with meaningful affirmations for all occasions in life and has a plethora of anecdotes that everyone can relate to. And Tricia, I am going to quote you now because I love this quote that you put in the bio you sent me. The Louise Hay Heal Your Life training encouraged me to follow my soul's calling, a journey that is sometimes difficult as you have to travel from your head to your heart to hear the whisperings of your soul. And I think that is such a beautiful quote from you. Thank you so much. It describes so much about who you are.
Yeah, and it's so true, is that we often, this longest journey, I think it's an old Sioux Indian saying to say that the longest journey you'll ever take is from your head to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get to the heart
Yes.
before you can hear the whisperings of what your soul is telling you.
Absolutely, because when we're too much in our heads and the ego, we're always thinking about how to be successful and all kinds of things of the world that aren't really what your soul is trying to tell you. So that's absolutely true.
Thank you.
So we often talk about how people find Louise's book or her philosophy in some way at exactly the right time. So how did you find it initially?
It was the year 2000, and 2000 seemed to be a very big year for me. I lost my dog. I lost my mum. That was the big turning point. I got engaged and I got married, and I moved from where I lived to the middle of Australia to a town called Alice Springs. So you would have heard of Uluru?
Yes, that is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so Alice Springs is 4 or 5 hours from there, but it's right in the central part of Australia. And it was like 40 days, 40 nights, being in the desert. It was a very much a time where I was on my own in many ways. I'd had so many changes. So if you put that on the stress levels, it's quite high.
It is quite high.
And I was searching for lots and lots of answers. And I went into a spiritual shop. And of course, that book jumped out at me. You Can Heal Your Life. And it's like, wow, okay, I think that's what I need. And I read it. And there was some really profound stuff in there, of course, as you know, it's a philosophy. And one of the things that I guess because I'd lost my mum and I was very lost because she had been the wind beneath my wings for years. I felt like, I don't know how other people feel, but if you have even one person that is behind you, it's like you can do anything because someone believes in you. Of course, the ultimate thing is you have to believe in yourself, right? But it's nice to know you have that there. And I had a lot of time to think because I wasn't socially engaged yet in Alice Springs, and I began to shift inward rather than outward. And I was searching for answers, and this book had so many different answers for me. And one of the ones, well, of course, at the back of Louise's book, and she has all the ailments.
Right.
So that's really, really interesting to me because I wanted to know my mother had renal failure. And of course, she'd had that for years. And she'd also had chronic coronary artery disease. So for 5 years, she struggled back, forth. And it was an incredible time. But I really didn't know. I couldn't understand why Mum was so unwell. But when you look at the ailments and what Louise says as the possible causes, Mum had 3 failed marriages, and so there was a lot of disappointment there, and there was a lot of heartache, and it was like how this was marrying up, and I wanted to read more and more, and then I'd think about other people's injuries or whatever dis-ease they have in their body, and it was like, my God, this is magic. This is gold. How can this be? And it was just, it intrigued me so much. It was such a new thought because was there really a reason why we did get dis-ease within the body?
Yeah. And that book was the first one that Louise put together. And that was in the late 70s, actually. I used to have a printout that was from the UK with that initial part of the book before it was actually in book form.
Was
and
that the little blue book?
The little blue book,
Right.
Yeah. It became the little blue book. And I remember that in the early 80s, we would all as women at least, would be carrying around the book in our purse, right? And if anybody had an illness, we would pull it out and look at it and say, oh, well, you've got this or this. Well, you know what? Some people didn't appreciate that. So we had to be a little more careful. But it is quite amazing how Louise put all of that together. And I think for you, looking at the book and connecting it with your mom was really very powerful to realize how some of these illnesses she had been manifested in her body for all these other things that were happening to her.
Absolutely. And, you say about that little blue book, well, I have a lot of clients, in my business.
Right.
And if they do have something going on, I always say, would you mind? I'd just like to check in with Louise and just see what she has to say about it. And 99.9% of the time when I read what the probable cause is, they just look at me, their mouth's a little bit open, their eyes are wide open,
They
and
go,
they say, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's so important to point out, and the way you did it is so gentle. That's beautiful. And also for those people who might be listening and looking at the book themselves, Louise never meant for anybody to feel guilty. And that's some of the feedback I've gotten from some people. You know, I'm feeling guilty now because this or this or this has come about. But it was meant to be information. So you could correct things, you know, and of course, not just with affirmations, but with more inner work and maybe medical work as well. But it's a real beautiful starting point for understanding why things get manifested in the body.
Yes, and I think, you know, I'm also a massage therapist and I teach massage. And so that also links in with the colors on the chakras. And it's incredible how everything just lines up. It's like a map, you know, and it really helps for the person. And I've never felt anyone sort of say, oh, I feel guilty. They're just, it's about creating an awareness for them. And I always ask, can you relate to that? You know, we're not telling the person, but I'm asking, as you said, very gently, can you relate to that? And they always can.
They can, yeah. So when you first found the book and you're looking at those parts and also you're looking at all or reading about all the techniques and everything, was there a particular technique in Louise's book that really stood out for you and what you needed at that moment in time?
Well, there was many techniques. You know, it's like, have we got all day to talk about it?
Of course.
Because there's just so many. But I think I'm going to tell you something maybe a little bit different that really stood out to me.
Okay.
And it's on page 17, and it says, I believe that we choose our parents. Now that was, you know, I'm hearing this or I'm reading this for the very first time. And I'm thinking, wow. So that sent me down a real journey. Had I chosen this, you know, I chose my parents. And that was light bulb moments. For me, if you told me back then, you know, my mother's passing was her greatest gift to me, I may have punched you in the face. That's how I felt, because I was angry, I was hurt, I was sad. But I can see now that it was almost like, Mum, we'd made a sacred agreement before we came in. And she said, well, I'm going to do this at this time. You know, are you going to be okay? And I mean, what was I thinking? Because I probably would say, oh, don't do that. That's too hard. But her passing stopped me from being, not that I was ever self-indulged, but I played a lot of sport. I was traveling. Life had been very, very easy for me. I certainly gave back to community by coaching or being on committees. But it had been about me up until that time. And then I realized I wanted to be of service. What I was learning, what I was reading about and hearing, it was starting to change everything in me at that cellular level. You know, that metamorphosis, that beautiful butterfly there. Something was changing deep within me. And I thought also about my father, because at that time, Dad and I, we hadn't spoken really. We had a bit of a tough relationship, my father and I. And there was even terrible thoughts, and I'm going to say this out loud, but I thought, why couldn't Dad have died and not Mum? Well, you know, and that was awful, but that was truly how I felt.
Sure.
But as it turns out, as I progressed through life, my father was also my greatest teacher.
Of course.
And I think now I chose really, really well.
That's wonderful.
Because
and you know,
without them, I wouldn't.
And I think, yes, and I think it's beautiful that you had such a supportive mom, because of course we do so much work at the training on our parents often, because people often don't have supportive parents. So it's beautiful that your mom was so supportive of you.
Yeah. I had that love. I really did. With her, I felt I could do anything. But losing her was like I'd lost a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had two lives, Patricia. I had one with my mother, and I had one without my mum.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just been totally different. That woman who was very sporty and, you know, I've always been happy-go-lucky. I enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something transformed. It really changed me deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that. And that book, of course, it helps you in so many ways, you know, and I love all the questions. Is it true, you know, about your childhood? Because a lot of what you believe or what you thought, it isn't true.
Right. And it's an interpretation of what you expected or experienced at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you learn a whole new set of beliefs. So it's a number of years later after your mom had passed and you'd found the book. But what drew you to the teacher training?
Well, at the same time I found the book, I also found a thing called Aurosoma and Colour. So I was sort of going a little bit with that,
Mm-hmm.
but always having the Louise Hay philosophy. And I knew that was missing. So I went in and did training there and become a teacher. But it's like I said to my girlfriend, Romaine, who often assists me on my courses.
Met her. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I said, Rowie, we need to do the Louise Hay workshop. We've got to find out who does it. Because I said, that is the missing piece of the puzzle.
Aha. Yes.
And it's all about taking responsibility for your own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
your own feelings, and your own actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually in Hawaii and I was doing some training with Doreen Virtue back then when she used to do the Angel Intuitive.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And that came to me like a bolt of lightning. You've got to do the Louise Hay work. You've got to do the Louise Hay work. And so I went online and I found that Susie was doing a course in that October.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent her an email and I said, look, I'd really like to come. Is there a possibility? And she said, absolutely. So that was it. It was as easy as that. I just contacted her and we were in. And the rest is history.
The rest is history. So when you started doing your workshops and now, of course, there's teacher training, and you've got one coming up in October in Queensland. And what kinds of specific things did you find that most people brought to the training? Now, they supposedly already have some foundation in Louise's work, but there always tends to be a theme in a particular program or a particular training. So what kind of issues did you find really popped up the most when people came that needed healing?
Okay. Can I just say something on that, Patricia, is that, you know, people often say, oh, I've read her book. I've done a workshop. I've done this. And I say, that's wonderful. But have you integrated it
into your life? Yeah.
Yes. How are you using it in your life?
Mm-hmm.
So when a lot of people come, they know it on a peripheral level, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't really applied it as such. And so there's a depth that comes in, and a lot of it still is, you know, those childhood issues, the negative messages that they can't get rid of, and the inner child, helping that inner child to bring her into the now is so important. And also the family dynamics, understanding our family. But also to leave our family alone, it's like the only person you can work on is yourself.
You know, I was just going to say that. So we're definitely in sync. And yes, Louise always said the only person you need to work on is yourself. And the deeper you go with yourself, the more you can understand your life, but also the more you can help others when you do take the training and then go out and do workshops and coaching. So I know sometimes in the workshop we get a little bit of a laugh and say, well, the only person you really need to work on is yourself. But some of you may think it's your husband or your partner, your friend or something, but it's really all back to us. And it doesn't mean we don't share the work and try to help others change, but it really does start with us, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And one of the funniest things is when I ask the person who wants their husband or their partner to change, or the person at work, or you know, their brother, and I say, is it easy for you to change things? Because I know you've been working on something here. How have you found that?
Right.
And they often say it's hard. And I said, but your expectation is that they should just change like that.
Yeah.
And I said, and they've had the same things or issues that they've had to look at or deal with in their life. So it's really about bringing that conscious awareness to people.
Yeah.
But I find, in answer to your question, is that so many of us are still stuck in that childhood, what we were indoctrinated into, the beliefs, and knowing that you can now change that. with the way that you think or look at it.
Yeah. And so much of it is in the unconscious that it's like we're just continually finding those things. And that's why I think there's another reason why the training is so powerful, is because they may have already read the book, like you said, and done some of the inner work, but especially with the group energy and the container of unconditional love that you create, you know, they can go even deeper and find some deeper issues that are there that need to be released. And it is amazing to see the transformations. You know, I've often said we really need to take photos at the beginning of the training and at the end, because you have all these shining, glowing faces at the end of the program, because they really have finally learned what it is to love themselves and really feel that unconditional love, you know, and that's something that Louise taught, really. How do you set that container of unconditional love? And I know you have just a beautiful presence with everyone. And so they come in and they feel safe right away.
Yeah. I always try to make it feel relaxed, like you're talking to a friend. We're all together. We're all there to share and learn and grow together.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And people do feel safe because there's no judgment. That's something else that I've worked on for a very long time, is non-judgmental awareness. Like, who are we to judge others? We don't know what they're going through, what's happening.
No, we don't. We surely don't. Yeah. So, and it's really such a wonderful process overall with Louise's work, you know, to keep going deeper in what's happening. And right now, in fact, she had a video that I posted out to some people recently called Overcoming Fears. And in it, she makes a comment, with everything that's happening in the world right now. And I'm thinking, you know, it sounds like she made it last week or the week before. So really, you know, how can Louise's work help change the world?
Well, you know, the kinder we can be to ourselves, that allows ourselves to be kinder to others and to consider others. But I think the key is when you're talking about, and you know, you call it the iceberg, we've got the tip of it, but what is subconscious? And it would be wonderful if everyone worked on that conscious awareness, you know, to raise it, that we actually have an effect, how we are, and also to be responsible for raising our own vibration so we can raise that vibration across the planet. Imagine if we loved ourselves and we could just love others for who they are. We wouldn't have this ego and drive and wanting to be better or wanting to be seen so much. It's because you're seeing yourself.
Right. Yeah. And as Jesus said, love yourself as others, as you love others as you love yourself. And I mean, that concept of loving yourself is way back in the Bible, but it certainly hadn't been, you know, really applied that much other than smaller circles, you know, and now it's so much more widespread that it's really a beautiful concept that most people feel like they can really accept, you know. So
well, what an incredible teacher. You know, he's an ascended master, Jesus, and that teaching of love. And he accepted everybody, you know, and love yourself and love one another. It is just beautiful.
And I think we really see that, you know, with the application of Louise's work and all the trained teachers worldwide, you know, across Australia, New Zealand, and every other part of the world. They're in 90 countries now. 90 countries. I mean, that is just incredible.
And that's a lot of thanks to you, Patricia, and
well,
the work that you continue to do. Remember that.
Thank you. And that's been my mission in life, you know, to share her work and help other people do it. But you do find that when people start to love themselves, their relationships at home transform.
Everything does.
Relationships at work transform, and with their friends transform. So there's just so much beauty that happens when you start to love yourself and really, like you said, you know, be kind to yourself. And then you realize, oh my goodness, I've been projecting out to other people my own weaknesses, and I just accept those. I can love those, right? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's about time for a break. So, well, I know it goes quickly, doesn't it? I know. So it's time for a break. And this is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
Now you can become an internationally certified workshop leader and life coach in Louise Hay's philosophy. This training was personally created and approved by Louise and is authorized by Hay House. It will change your life and enable you to help others transform theirs. You will join a worldwide community of thousands of workshop leaders and life coaches, all dedicated to offering Louise's work to change hearts and minds. Go to healyourlifetraining.com for all the information.
Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
We're back with the wonderful Tricia Sharkey, who is the teacher trainer for Australia and New Zealand. My name is Dr. Patricia Crane. I studied personally with Louise, and for this session, I'm the host here and happy to do that. And I'm delighted to have Tricia here as the guest today. Now, Tricia, I want to ask you to explain a little bit about Aurosoma, because Louise Hay loved Aurosoma. She actually had all the bottles in her bedroom. So obviously I've been in her bedroom.
I remember you telling me that. I think you told me that in Singapore, and I was absolutely thrilled. So Aurosoma is a colour system with the living essential oils, and Vicky Wall brought it through in 1983.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing system and very complex, and Mike Booth now runs it for the world. But colour itself, it just has a language, and it's about understanding. I said to you before about how it lays on the chakras, the different colours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are too much one colour, then that's where you get depleted, or it's out of whack. And then you have complementary colours that work towards and against each other. So with the violet that you're wearing today, and such a colour that reflects your personality, because violet is very much about being of service. They want to be of service to the world, and they are the catalyst for change. So this is about bringing about healing and transformation. I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying.
I can, thank you. Yeah.
And that when it's in balance, which you have in balance, the complementary yellow is also active. So you have enough confidence and enough joy and belief in yourself to take that service out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the negative aspect of the violet and you're overthinking and the thoughts are bad, which is what Louise tries to talk about, is that
Right.
the way that you're thinking, how are you talking to yourself? If it's I'm not good enough, which is that lack in the yellow, so it depletes it and it
Mm-hmm.
pulls that way. So you're always wanting to keep all the energies in balance, and so the colors very much support that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you have written a beautiful book, as I mentioned earlier, The Kaleidoscope of Life. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have that book right here, and I know it's being shown right now as well. And quite honestly, Tricia, it was an amazing book because you have so much in there. I mean, it's a beautiful book with the colors, but the way that you put it together and explained all the different colors, and you have the affirmations, you have personal stories about how it works. It's really beautiful. So tell us more about your book.
Well, it was a burning desire to put it all together, my passions, which were the Louise Hay work. That's why the affirmations are in there. And for people to understand themselves. And so a really easy way to do that, because, you know, not everyone's always ready for doing the work themselves.
Right.
They don't really want to look at themselves, but they go, oh, I love that color, or I don't like that color. So colors are really unintrusive way to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea is to get people to understand why they do what they do in the way that they do it,
Mm-hmm.
which is also part of the Louise Hay training, right? It's about
Right.
understanding ourselves. What makes us react like that? What does that? So throughout the book, and why I wanted to do it, and I had to let go of all my fears, and I thought, well, the want and the desire to, if it could help one person or two people or three, but it's helped many. And they said, I'm really starting to understand what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as I said, you have the affirmations. You'll see that there's ways to work with that color, and also what you can be saying whilst you're going through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like what you're saying because I can see myself going through the book, how it's a gentle way of introducing people to more about themselves that they can relate to really easily. And so that could then help them get into deeper work, you know, with themselves. But so it's a beautiful book to use.
And that's how I utilize it. So when people come to me and they come for color consultations, we always inevitably end up doing the Louise Hay work.
Well, and I can see the beautiful colors behind you, and also that you're wearing those as well.
Yeah. So these colors, especially you can see the olive green.
Mm-hmm.
So olive green is very much, and also you've got the pink and the yellow. So you've got pink is the color for love. And so that's also, if you're wanting to love yourself, and or, you know, we always say, are you willing? Because people can't always say that in the mirror, you know, I love myself the way I am, you know, how they turn away or they start adjusting everything.
Right.
So you can just put yourself in a pink wrap or a pink jumper, and it's like you can almost feel the love coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And olive green is the color for feminine independence, trusting in your feminine intuition. It's sort of a camouflage color. You know, a lot of the armies use khaki. I think you call it khaki or something.
Khaki.
We Australians say khaki. It's also soft. You don't really know, but there's a lot of strength in that, because if you think about an olive, and I like the analogy of olives. Okay, do you like olives at all?
I don't particularly, actually. Rick does, but I don't. They're too acidic for me.
Well, they're a bit bitter, aren't they?
They are.
So with olives, you can't eat them off the tree because they're definitely too bitter. So they have to go through a process. And within this process, it's about sort of letting go. It transforms, you know, they either put it in more brine or olive oil, or they get stuffed with something, but then they become palatable. And you can eat it. So that process is like the process of life.
Yeah.
When we can let go of the bitterness of the past. And then there's a big step in that, because you've got to come into that forgiveness word.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's when we can start to enjoy the sweetness of life. And then that takes you up, because if I can just show you that the olive green sits sort of just under the breastbone, but above the solar plexus, it's the yellow. So it's the emerald green and the yellow combined. And the emerald green is the heart, which is what we're trying to take people to.
Right.
So there's this bridging process through the olive where we have to let go of the bitterness of the past, because that's what blocks us a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
We won't let it go.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up forgiveness, because that is such a central part of Louise's work, and really any spiritual path.
Absolutely.
I mean, they all have forgiveness in there. And the forgiveness work, and, we've talked about this many times and in the trainings as well, is that it's not about the other person. It's about letting go of that stuff within yourself. And it's not about, oh, well, I forgive, and maybe that person will change their behavior. Okay, now that does happen occasionally. That happened in one of the groups that I was working with. This guy who was tired of actually doing the forgiveness work around his brother who was rejecting him, and he wrote yet one more forgiveness letter that he didn't mail. But within 2 weeks, his brother called him and said, "I want to get back in connection with you." So, but usually it doesn't happen. So it's really all about being able to release it within yourself. And that does open the heart more. Louise talks about that. Forgiveness opens the doorway to the heart, because we can't hold those things and keep hurting ourselves with them. So the forgiveness work, and I love your analogy about the olive. I also use the artichoke at times. We're peeling the artichoke to get to the heart. And then it's really an amazing process as human beings to go through all this and really come out the other side and just see things so differently.
Yes. And the funny thing, if I can keep commenting about that, is that the person that you're holding the anger or the bitterness to, and I think Louise, it was in her, is it You Own the Power? Whichever one, and she writes about that seat of self-righteous resentment,
Yes. Yeah, the body language goes along with it.
Yeah. Because I remember reading that, and I actually threw the book away. I was out by my pool because I thought, oh God, I think she's writing about me.
Oh dear.
This is many years ago, because there was that need to be right. I'm right, you're wrong, and wanting the other person to apologize to you, And what I laugh now, because what we don't realize is that other person probably hasn't even thought about whatever happened again.
Right.
And we've wasted all that energy, all those years thinking about them, losing sleep, thinking about what you're going to say, and they haven't even thought about you.
Right.
What a waste of energy. Let go of the bitterness. It's not
right.
worth it.
And even if it takes many times of doing that, it doesn't always happen overnight. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. And sometimes I heard Louise talking about, I'm willing to be willing to forgive, and even of Course in Miracles says, you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to have the little willingness. I'm willing to forgive. And then if you're drawn to it, you'll go through a process like with the Heal Your Life work or some other process. We're drawn to what we need at the time. And it's just amazing how those things will show up if you're open to them. And so a lot of it's about just being open to saying, yes, I am willing to change. I'm willing to change.
Well, I think what you said, the willing is such a powerful one, and people are open to that. But also for myself, I had to go on a journey through the Louise Hay work to be willing to forgive my father for not being the dad I needed or the dad I wanted in my life. And because I was holding on to that, that was very motivational to stay angry with dad. Gave me a lot of energy to do stuff, but it was hurting me, of course. And I remember that I could be willing. I couldn't do it at the time, but I was very willing. Yeah. And I actually used to light 2 candles. And I don't know if you've ever used this technique, but I'd light little tea light candles, one for dad, one for me. And I would imagine us as light beings sort of talking to each other.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and allowing our higher selves, that part of us that is pure love, to come together. And I really didn't know how that would be, but it was almost within weeks. Dad just called in one day. I don't know, things just changed. And nothing had really been said, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely makes sense.
Something shifted.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of power in that willingness and surrendering that to the universe to take it and say, this is my intention. And intention is such a big thing. And if you have an intention of love, I believe that you can change it.
Well, and I can go along with you so much on that. Mine was the opposite. My dad was the more loving one. My mom was less so. And she never really understood why we didn't like each other, or I didn't like her for so long. But Louise's work helped me come to exactly what you were talking about, not only the forgiveness, but to forgive her for not being the mother I thought she should be. Because I saw these other, friends of mine with the mothers that were so loving and caring and everything, and that wasn't mine. But I came to that conclusion, or came to that understanding and that forgiveness with Louise's work. And the last 8 years of my mom's life, we had a great relationship. So when she passed, which actually was in the middle of a training I was doing, when she passed, I was able to really feel at peace with it, and, of course, grieve her passing, but happy that we had had those 8 years where we had a good relationship. And so that's part of the joy, of this work, is that you're not carrying something after a person passes, and you're able to really be okay with them in the present moment. And that's a precious gift. So that's a beautiful gift. I didn't know that technique with the candles. I think that's absolutely lovely. I love it.
Yeah, and imagine the higher part of ourselves. And if you like, you can put a third one in the middle, which is for the situation.
Okay, yeah. That's
and
lovely.
you just let them burn overnight. And that's what I would do. I just kept doing that. And it was like, I don't know, but something changes. So
yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I'd really like to talk some about your travels, and especially going to Bali, because that's a place that was very special for me as well. But, you said in your info that you sent me, and I read some of it in the bio, that, all the different cultures that you go to, you really see that even though there are different cultural norms and different expectations in the cultures, that the very bottom line for everybody is to love and approve of yourself. And that's why Louise's work has gone from, to 55 million copies of her book and translated into 35 languages and teachers in 90 countries, because everyone feels that connection in their heart, that's what they want. And when they hear that message, it's a light bulb.
Well, it's just the truth, isn't it? Louise's work, it's plain truth. And it's just such a natural talk, and it's a natural way. And, certainly I got to meet Louise twice, which was very lucky. I didn't get to spend time like you did, but she was so grounded, and she was so down to earth and realistic. And I think that's the beauty of the Louise Hay work, is the way that it's natural. People can relate, and it doesn't matter what language you speak. And that's why I say about colour, because it's universal language as well, is that we can all relate. And I've spoken, especially in Bali, you get an opportunity, you get Russians, you get Japanese, you get Americans, English people.
Right.
And having travelled through Europe, I went through 9 different countries, and we were teaching. And I used to teach a Louise Hay exercise with colour, the one where we feel the pain, in the body, tapping into the
it's a good one.
Connection. And I'd add the colour to say, what colour would it look like? Now imagine breathing in love, and what colour would it be? And they draw another whole picture. And you can see the transformation just by doing that one exercise. But it didn't matter what nationality, what religion, what upbringing they had. Everybody wants to be loved and accepted for themselves.
They are, right, yeah.
And that's the bottom line. But the person who has to love and accept is themselves before others can love and accept them. And that's it. That's the secret, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And to just pay attention to what's being reflected back to you, because what you're getting back is what you're putting out. The first principle in Louise's 2-day workshop, what you give out, you get back. And I think we all know the golden rule, but that's on the surface level. In her work, it's much deeper. It's about, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I putting out there? If I'm expecting negative things to happen, they'll just keep happening.
Yes, you attract that energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now when you were going to Bali, you were also doing massage with chakra balancing. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually in there. It's called the Chakra Balance Massage, and it works with oils, and it all relates to color and on the chakras and the energies. But it's got breath work in it, and as you breathe out, so if we're down on the base, and this is often where we don't feel supported, but we get a lot of pain because we hold anger there. So the first thing you do as we're massaging it is on the out breath, there's a releasing of any past anger, any past resentment or frustration.
Yeah.
So each color has something that you're letting go of, because you have to let go of it. And then with the in-breath, then you breathe in the other qualities like strength and courage, finding your passions.
Lovely, beautiful. Yeah.
So it's really transformative. And a lady called Vicky Engham, she created that, and I became a teacher of it. And I've been lucky enough to teach that all around Australia. And I taught the staff in Bali, and it's actually on their menu at the Four Seasons.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, and they are beautiful people, the Balis. Just so wonderful.
Well, yeah, Rick and I spent some time there, and it was really a very special time. And I think, reflecting back to your bio when I was reading it, you're a lifelong learner, and you have a number of modalities, and you keep relating it to the Heal Your Life work, which it all fits together. It's all really beautiful. So I would like you to start talking about your training, which is in October 2nd through the 10th. And I want to just or the 11th, I'll just give a little bit of background on this, because initially when I worked with Louise, the training came about for just the 2-day workshop, which we'll talk about a little more as well. And so it was just a workshop leader training. And she asked me, she said, there's a little 6-week something that is on my book, but I want you to flesh it out, make it more heartful, etc. And that became the 10-week study group that is part of the program. So that was it initially. But then people started contacting me and saying, people are asking me for individual work. I don't know what to do. So I had been doing coaching for quite some time, and I put together, just a small booklet initially, but that became the coach training. So initially they were separate, but now people are asking for having them together because it consolidates their time. They can learn everything over a span of time, both with Zoom calls and with in person. So tell me about your training. When did the Zoom calls actually start, and then your in-person training as well, and what that covers?
Yeah, well, they'll start a couple of months out with the Zoom calls, and it's really, I've just called for all the interest, but I have people who've paid deposits now and they're booking in, and because it's in October, which is nearly 6 months away. And I think especially, given world events at the moment, it was a good move, because this is my first time doing the combined.
Right. Yes.
Because I've always done it separately. And, Australia's a big country. And
yes.
I also have people that come from New Zealand, and I have a lady coming from New Zealand. And so I thought it also condenses for them only having to fly once. So it saves on travel, and because we're doing the stuff previously, it can cut down the coaching time so that it's fed in. And as you said, such value for money, and to also be in that flow. You do the 2-day workshop, and then we break it down, and talk about how you're going to teach and present that. And then, as you explained a long time ago, that's about the groups. And when we do the coaching, it's more the one-on-one. So with the groups, you get to dictate what we're doing. And that's what we're doing today. But when you have the coaching, it is the client then that will dictate to you.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like what they really want to work on, and whether that be that inner child or just changing their thoughts from negative to positive. And I think that's wonderful. But you get that flow, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a different process, but it's very powerful. And exactly what you were talking about, people were saying to me, I don't want to fly from Europe, let's say, to California or New Jersey or wherever, to be able to do this twice. So it's the combination, I think, is working well for a lot of the English countries, and some of the other teacher trainers are starting to work with it as well.
Yeah.
But and you were explaining it very well about how the actual workshop leader is about the group. You have your workshop script, you have everything that you take people through, and that's another thing. You get absolutely clear scripts with music and handouts and everything, so you're not reinventing the wheel to do a workshop.
When I first did the Heal Your Life training, because having done other modalities, that was just the support that is given, and everything's there for you. I said, my God, how easy can this be? It is there for you.
Right.
You don't have to overthink it, but of course you always bring your own personal touch.
Yes.
To it. And you will attract your tribe. You don't even share with anyone else. But the Heal Your Life program, it's so generous with what it gives to everybody. And once again, thank you to you and the support that is given for this whole global program.
Oh, thank you. So for those of you watching, I highly recommend the Heal Your Life training, teacher training. If you're interested in, sharing Louise's work, if you're already familiar with it and it's changed your life, then the training will change your life even more, and also give you a whole new career, or to add to modalities that you already have, like Tricia has. So Tricia, we're getting toward the end of this wonderful interview. Oh, I know it's going so
fast.
But what are just 3 tips that you could offer our people watching or listening to, really up-level their lives right now?
I think first and foremost is that to work with conscious awareness. Be aware of what you're going to say and what that might. And if you wouldn't like it said to you, don't say it to others. Yeah? So working with conscious awareness, and to master your own vibration. You can't be somebody else. I can't be you. I can't be Louise, but I can be Tricia.
Absolutely.
That's what we need to concentrate on, that. And of course, I'd have to do a color quote, and I always say that life is too short to live in black and white. So you live it in full color.
Live in full color. Oh, yes. That's beautiful. So
be yourself, your authentic self.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting for myself to just look at how my colors have changed over time.
Yeah.
And what I used to wear and what I wear now. And of course, I started wearing aqua, and you were very clear with that's going in the flow more. I said, okay, good. That's what I need to do.
But so may I also say the aqua is the universal point of view. This is someone who can see everything from all perspectives, and it's about the collective. So the aqua very much is part of you as well, because you are
certainly keep working on that part as well. So is your book on Amazon? Can people get an ebook of it, or do they need to buy the paperwork? Okay.
No, they can get it on Amazon. It's on there.
Yeah. So. Oh, good. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Australia is a big time difference from where we are. So it's good to have this conversation with you. And I just wish you so much continued success with sharing Louise's work in Australia and New Zealand. And I haven't been to New Zealand. Rick and I were in Australia a few times, once, training you, but some other people as well. And the country and the people are just beautiful. And in fact, Jane Matthews, who you might know from the UK, she's traveling in Australia right now.
Oh, is she?
Yes, yeah. She decided.
Which part? Is she down south?
Oh, she's gone all over the place, but she was in the outback recently. So that is the other really wonderful part of the Heal Your Life training. You can teach anywhere. Anywhere. Now, online, of course, yes, you do. But you can travel to any other country. Now, our teacher trainers, they have their specific territories, like Tricia does in Australia and New Zealand, but anyone can travel there to do the training with her. Anyone from there could travel to the US if they wanted to. So that part's okay. But you really you can teach anywhere, across the world. And then one of the things that we did do in 2020, that was pretty much a challenge, because everything in the Heal Your Life work had been in person up to that time.
Yeah.
And we do keep the Heal Your Life training in person because the emotional depth of it and the actual connection and ability to actually be with other people is so important as you take this journey. But we adapted the 10-week study group and some of the other workshops to all be online. And so those are available for you as well.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So thank you, Tricia, for this interview. It's so wonderful to talk with you. And we're going to complete right now. And just know that those of you watching, this is What Would Louise Say at the New Thought Media Network. The Heal Your Life Workshop Facilitator and Life Coach Certification Training, approved personally by Louise Hay, is coming to San Diego, facilitated by expert trainers Christy Dixon and Anna Milkick. This 3.5-month training includes multiple sessions on Zoom and 9 days in beautiful San Diego. It will change your life and enable you to help others transform their lives.